Okay, we are live. B2, December 2nd.
Hi.
Everybody say hi.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is just data that somebody could have obtained. So we have the dye concentrations. These were calculated using M1V1 is equal to M2V2. Okay. M1 and which is your initial concentration is known, as well as V2 is known. You plug in your new volume, so V1, to solve for M2, and these are all the M2 values right here. Okay, so we have all those in there. This is mock data, so this would not match your data that you obtained in lab. And then with that data, with those dilutions that you made, you got transmittances. Okay, you wrote those transmittances down as percentages. We need to use the transmittances as decimals, so we need to have decimals in our table. So I could easily use in Excel by copying and pasting, and then selecting the comma button to make them decimals. Okay, I already have this graphed, so you can see this is not a linear graph through the origin. We need a linear graph through the origin with a positive slope. This is not that. Okay, as a refresher on how to insert a graph, you would go to Insert, click on Scatter Plot, click on one where the lines aren't connected or the dots aren't connected. So you just get a blank graph. Right click, go to Select Data. It gives you an option to add a series. So you want to add a series, and then you want to select your X values first. X values are my dye concentrations. Select all those, hit Enter. Then you want to select your Y values. Select all the Y values and hit Enter. Hit OK. Here's your graph. You want to, on all your graphs, you want to make sure you have a chart title and you want to label your axes. Okay, we're not going to bother doing that right now, but that needs to be done. So here I'm just going to use the one that was already made, because since this one already has labeled axes. I have the transmittance on the y-axis, concentration on the x-axis. So now, since this isn't through the origin and it's not exactly linear, I want to manipulate this in such a way that it's going to end up that way. So I want to take different variations of the transmittance as the new y values. So if you look at the last page of your lab procedure, it gives you options of inverse of t, 1 times 10 to the t, log of t, and negative log of t. In order to quickly do these computations, you're just going to use Excel, and you could use Google Sheets as well. And you're just going to select the cell and hit equals to start a formula. So this one we want 1 over t, so you just put 1 divided by, and then this is t. So, and then hit Enter or Tab, and then it's going to get out of that cell, and there it's calculated. Next one is 1 times 10 to the t, so equals 1 times 10 raised to the t power, which you can just click on the cell. And then next one is log of t, so you just type in log, left parenthesis, select t and the parentheses, hit Enter. The next one is the same thing, but negative log of t. So I could type in negative log of t, or I could take this and put equals negative this cell. Either way, you do these computations, you could select them and drag them down, and it does all those computations automatically for you. So now I just want to graph the different variations of y. So I have the normal y, I have y1, y2, y3, and y4. So I should end up with 5 different graphs in my lab report. So the best way to do this is just to copy and paste the existing graph. So copy, paste, and then I could change which data is selected. Right here I could see that it's dye and the transmittance, but I'm going to do the inverse transmittance. There I have my new graph. Okay, now I could copy and paste it again, get another graph. This time I could select the next one over. There we go. I could copy and paste that one. Want to do that. Copy and paste it over here, and we could select the log of t. There's that one. We're getting closer, but now we want a positive slope, so I could copy and paste that one. There we go. And then for this one, I could select this column. So there I just quickly graphed all of those different variations of transmittance. So now what I want to do is I've successfully found the one that is linear and goes through the origin and it has a positive slope. So now I want to add a trend line. In order to add a trend line, we can make this bigger. so it's easier to look at. I can select the data points and right click and hit add trend line. Once I add the trend line, make sure I'm selecting a linear trend line, and I can put display equation on chart. When I hit display equation on chart, it's going to give me an equation where I can actually plug in the x and y values that I used. So when I close out of that, there's my equation. So now, since I know for this graph, if I moved over, I used this as the x, so the dye concentration is x, so I would substitute x for dye concentration, and then for y I use negative log of t, so I would substitute the y as a negative log of t. So now, I want the dye concentration of my Gatorade. I already took the transmittance of it, so I just plug in the transmittance and I can solve for the dye concentration. So it's going to be negative log of, so y is negative log of the transmittance, so negative log of whatever you find the transmittance of the Gatorade to be is equal to 0.1338 x, x is the dye concentration, that's what you're solving for, minus 0.0038. Once you solve for the dye concentration, you've then successfully found the concentration of the dye in the Gatorade. That was the objective of the lab. Okay, so for your lab report, you just need a data and calculation section. So you should have your data tables where you found the lambda max, explain how you found lambda max, show that it was the minimum transmittance, and then show your dilutions, and then pretty much show this table, and then show these graphs. Once you have all of that, make sure your graphs are properly labeled. These ones are not, they do not have chart titles, but once you have all of that, you're done. Show the calculation for the final concentration of the determined Gatorade, and then that's it. Okay, so there is how to do your lab report.